What really is the difference between saying you have faith and actually living it? Well, the second chapter of the book of James tackles that question head-on. It's all about that powerful, unavoidable link between what we believe in our hearts and what we do with our hands. Let's get into it.
Right away, James, who is Jesus' half-brother, paints this really vivid picture for the early Christian meetings. Imagine this. Two people walk into your gathering. One guy is decked out, gold rings, fancy clothes, clearly well off. Then another man comes in, but he's in rags, obviously poor. The question is, how do you treat them?
And bam! James just hits them with this incredibly sharp question. He doesn't pull any punches. See, by giving the rich man the best seat and basically telling the poor man to stand in the corner or sit on the floor, they were doing more than just being rude. They were appointing themselves as judges, and frankly, they were making terrible, corrupt calls.
So what's really going on here? James is pointing out a huge problem that he was seeing. This favoritism, this act of honoring the rich and dissing the poor, well, it wasn't just some social faux pas. It was an action that went completely against the very heart of God's values. And this is where James just turns everything on its head. He reminds them, hey, from God's point of view, it's often the poor of the world that he has chosen to be rich in faith, to be heirs of his kingdom. So when they were dishonoring a poor person, they were actually disrespecting someone specifically chosen by God. Wow, that's a total reversal of how the world usually thinks.
So how does James suggest they fix this? Well, he doesn't just scold them. He points them back to a higher principle, an ultimate standard that should guide every single one of their interactions with people.
And here it is. He calls it the royal law. Why royal? Because it's the kingly law of love, the supreme law for anyone who's a subject of God's kingdom. It demands that we treat everyone impartially. And then he makes this incredible point. If you break this one law just by showing favoritism, you're guilty of breaking the whole law. Yeah, it's that serious.
And this is where it gets really interesting. James masterfully shows that this whole favoritism thing, well, it's actually just a symptom of a much, much deeper problem. A problem with the very nature of faith itself.
So he throws out another one of his classic hard-hitting questions. He basically asks, hey, what good is it if you say you have faith, but there's no action to back it up? A faith that's just a claim, think about it. Can that kind of faith actually save anyone? James then lays out this crystal clear comparison. On one hand, you have a dead faith. It sees someone in need and just offers empty words, right? Oh, go in peace, hope you get warm, and find some food. On the other hand, you have a living faith. It doesn't just talk, it acts. It gives that person a coat or a meal. It's a belief that is proven by what it does. It's active, it's complete. And this leads us to the most famous line in the whole chapter. He boils it all down to this one stark statement. A faith that doesn't produce any action, any good works, it isn't just weak or flawed, it's dead, a corpse. Now, James is a super practical guy. To prove his point, he's not going to get lost in abstract philosophy. No, he goes straight to the history books, back to the Hebrew scriptures, and he pulls out two amazing real-life examples. Okay, case study number 1. Abraham, the father of the faithful, right? James points to the ultimate test of his faith when he was willing to offer up his own son, Isaac. Now, that incredible act didn't earn him his right standing with God, but it sure did prove his faith was real. His faith and his actions worked together, and through that work, his faith was made complete, perfected, and the result? He was called God's own friend. Then, for his next example, James picks someone totally different, Rahab. I mean, talk about a contrast. She wasn't some great patriarch. She was a prostitute from Jericho, a total outsider. And yet, she too was declared righteous because of her works. What did she do? She took a huge risk and hid the Israelite spies, helping them escape. Her belief in God was transformed into a courageous life-or-death action. It just goes to show, living faith is for everyone. So when you put these two together, Abraham and Rahab, you see something amazing. Faith and works aren't enemies fighting for the top spot. They're partners. They have this dynamic relationship where one proves and completes the other. They're two sides of the same coin. Which all leads to this powerhouse conclusion. Now, he's not saying you earn your salvation through works. Not at all. He's simply clarifying what real, saving faith actually looks like. The works are the evidence. They are the visible proof of a genuine faith that is alive and kicking.
Okay, so that's all fascinating stuff from a letter written thousands of years ago. But so what? What does it mean for you and me,
right here, right now. What's the real takeaway for our lives?
Well, what James is showing us is that a living faith is this incredible force for change. It gets in there and transforms everything about us, from the inside out. First, it changes our thoughts, forcing us to root out any prejudice. Then, it changes our feelings, helping us develop real empathy. And crucially, it changes our actions, pushing us to get our hands dirty and offer real, practical help.
And he wraps it all up with this final, unforgettable analogy. It's so simple you just can't miss it. A body without a spirit, or life force, is just a corpse, right? Well, he says, in exactly the same way, faith without any works is also dead. It might look like faith, it might even use all the right words, but there's no life in it.
And so we're left with this really personal question to think about. It cuts right to the heart of everything James has been saying. It's a challenge for each of us to look in the mirror and ask, is my faith just an idea I agree with, or is it alive, demonstrated in the way I actually live my life?